He had to get butt naked. You know, they had to bring out the towels. But Sean Porter made weight 147 pounds. Andre Berto weighed at 146 and a half. I'm T Street Controversy. This is T Street Controversy Live. We are now about, what, 30 hours away or so before they get into the ring. In my opinion, Andre Berto's career is on the line to an extent, right? This could be his last run at a title, but at the same time, you know, Al Heyman is always hooking him up. You know, so if it's one thing that he should be... See, what I've noticed is, I'm not saying Andre Berto was like this. What I noticed is a lot of these fighters sometimes feel entitled to something when, if you really think about it, Al Heyman been taking care of his fighters. So, a lot of them, this is my personal opinion, a lot of them can bitch and complain now about how, about like being inactive in things, but in reality, and it's not just me saying it, don't single me out. In reality, because you got a lot of motherfuckers who get sensitive when you talk about Al Heyman. You know, I've always been an Al Heyman supporter, but however, I'm not one of those media members that's not going to be critical of what I feel are some of his mistakes, like his whole complete media blackout policy. But whatever the case may be, it's always been like that. It's not going to change. So we're just going to focus on the fact that the perception is, and a lot of fans feel, that many of his fighters were overpaid. But then again, there's no such thing as an overpaid fighter for what they have to go through in the ring, literally. Your brain is being smashed up against your skull at high rates of speed. Inside your skull at high rates of speed. You know? Internal damage. So, I guess what I'm saying is, a lot of these fighters, if they were with other promoters, it would take them maybe 2 fights to make what they can make in one Al Heyman fight. And that's some real shit. You know? So, that being said, I look at it like this. Andre Berto needs this win. Andre Berto is the more skilled fighter. He is the more seasoned fighter. He's been in wars and he's got back up. But a fighter like Sean Porter is the Achilles heel of a fighter like, or for a fighter of Andre Berto, who has a known history of having issues with pressure fighters, which makes this fight good. So, a lot of times, you have to look at the storyline behind the fights to see the marketing value in the fight. You know, on why the fight is worth the watch. Because this could be the end of Andre Berto as far as on this scale. Remember, this is to be the mandatory for a title shot. A unification with Keith Thurman for that. You know, this is for a big fight. And remember, Keith Thurman right now is the head of PBC ratings on free TV, or PBC ratings in general. You know, dude is pulling 3 million households, 4 million households, 5 million households, no matter how you slice it. The only issue I have with Keith Thurman is he doesn't do enough after the fight to keep that momentum going. Especially since he's going through these different phases of injuries where he's fighting one time a year. We seen him on TMZ, a couple of weeks ago. I'm pretty sure he's going to be there this weekend. You know, tomorrow. I'm going to be at the fight, by the way. You know, so I'm pretty sure he's probably going to be there, because normally at Al Heyman fights or event or Showtime events of this magnitude, it's somewhat, from my understanding, mandatory for certain fighters of his to show up. So, for example, you know, since tomorrow is Danny Jacobs Day, in Brooklyn. So Danny Jacobs has got to be at the fight. You know, we got to talk to him. You know, Virgil Hunter's going to be there. You know, if I was at the weigh-in today, I would have got to interview Virgil Hunter, but I couldn't go. You know. What else? Keith Thurman should be there. Of course, Paulie Malignaggi is going to be there. You would have thought Broner would be there, but he's probably not. And since Spence is going to be fighting on HBO, on Showtime, he may be there. You know, on Showtime on May the 20th, he may be there, or he's most likely should be there. Who else? Javonte Davis should be there. You know, so tomorrow is going to be really, 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 really interesting. So that's why I said, you know what? I'm going to chill today. So as soon as these videos over, I'm going to get all groomed up. You know, I got all my shit already. I printed all my shit out. I'm that type of motherfucker that print all my fucking, you know, trip arterial out and shit. You know, we all ready. So, anyway, going back to the fight. I feel like this. Andre Berto's had trouble with who? Luis Collazo, Robert Guerrero, Jesus Soto Karass. You see what I'm saying? Victor Ortiz in the first fight. Victor Ortiz dropped him in the second fight. Jose Tito Lopez was up on the cards and winning the fight, in my opinion, laying hands on Berto as far as activity was concerned, pressuring him before Berto stopped him. And some people feel that that stoppage was premature. Now remember, don't shoot the messenger. Everything I talk about in my videos, go look that shit up yourself. Because when I get critical of fighters, people think that I'm hating on a fighter. It's like, yo, y'all throw that word around so freely. It's just like, yo, seriously, this is a big fight for Berto. You know, I would be really happy for him if he wins, and Sean Porter is a nice-ass guy. But if Andre Berto beats Sean Porter, because going into the fight, nobody's really talking about it, but Andre Berto is the underdog. Yeah, he's the A-side. And talking to Sean Porter yesterday, I uploaded the video. You know, he's been playing the whole A-side thing. You know, like the time has got to be right. That's what Sean Porter was saying. Like, basically, he was like doing the whole Mayweather thing. And I can understand. You know, I really want to see what both of these fighters are making. But I can understand. I wouldn't be surprised if Berto getting like 1.7, you know, or 2. You know, and, you know, Sean Porter getting that mill. Because yesterday also Sean Porter was talking about, like, how he want that Keith Thurman money again. You know? So, because you know when they do CBS Showtime on PBC, they're able to put somewhat pay-per-view quality fights. No, PBC on CBS. Because they're able to put somewhat pay-per-view-ish quality fights on free television, able to pay 2 A-side fighters $2 million or something like that. So you had Danny Garcia who made $2 million. You had Keith Thurman to make $2 million. But to have that on regular Showtime is not possible. You can't even do that on HBO. You can't have 2 A-side fighters, you know, making that type of money on regular HBO. They're like, nah, you got to put that shit on pay-per-view. That's how Crawford versus Posto ended up on pay-per-view. So when you have PBC putting in their money for licensing fees and helping PBC say, you know, yes, we're putting boxing on free TV, they're also getting the money from Showtime, and Showtime is like, all right, well, even though we can say, you know, presented to you by Premier Boxing Champions, this is, you know, Showtime on CBS. So it's like kind of a double brand marketing thing, and I completely understand it, and it's legit, you know, and it was very smart for them to do that. You know, so I can understand where Sean Porter's coming from. It's like, yo, he want to be in front of, like, you know, back in front of that. Because when you're fighting on free TV, you want to make sure those, what the fuck? You want to make sure those what I call channel surfers, I don't know what they're called anymore. That's what they were called. That's what they were called when I was in college. You know, the people who are sitting home on Saturday night, you know, the Al Bundys with their hands in their pants, and they're flicking through the channels, right? Flicking through. You know, people don't usually do that. See, they don't do that anymore because you got the guide. But let's say you're searching through the guide. But before, people would flick through the channels, and like new TV shows and pilots and certain, you know, broadcasts would rely on, once they're clicking, like going through that channel, to stop and say, well, wait a minute, what the fuck is this? Somebody getting fucked up. Boxing on Saturday night on free TV? I thought it would only be on HBO or Showtime. I'm on HBO or Showtime. Let me check this shit out. You know, so they're kind of relying, you know, like on that, and it's working. So when you're fighting on free TV, you not only want to put on exciting fights, but you want to put on fights that appeal to the hardcores. That's what was somewhat going on with the issue with Premier Boxing Champions when they started on free TV. I see, or at least I think I see what they were trying to do. They were putting these A-side versus these J-side matchups, or okay, it wasn't J-sides. You know, it was like A-side versus D-side or A-side versus C-side matchups, right? That on paper were supposed to be high-quality fights to produce knockouts, but at the same time, they alienated the media and the hardcore fans. So I'm guessing what they was trying to do is say, okay, well, if we put, you know, Adonis Stevenson versus Saki Obika on free TV, we know somebody's going to get knocked the fuck out. But to us hardcores, you know, it just didn't work out. You know, so that, I mean, I think that's what they're relying on. So when you're seeing a Sean Porter and a Keith Thurman, and you got, you know, Ronaldo and the Showtime commentators, you know, hyping that shit up, and Sean Porter's going at Keith Thurman. You see Keith Thurman ponytail all flopping around in the air. That shit was lit. The crowd is hype. It's sold out. That fight was close to being sold out, right? You know, that's why I was so hurt. I got sick, you know, and I wasn't in the atmosphere for Thurman versus Garcia, because remember, I was supposed to be at Thurman versus Garcia. I did some powerful work, you know, throughout that whole, you know, build-up, and I was sick. You know, I was sick, and I was hiding that shit for like a whole month and a half. You know, and then that shit finally caught up with me. But anyway, you know, now I'm going to this. One of the reasons why I didn't go to the weigh-in today was because I wanted to, you know, make sure I'm getting everything rested up, and, you know, I can go out there, you know, and be productive. So, going back to what I was saying about, you know, why Sean Porter wants to get back on free TV, and why Berto would love to get on free TV, you know, is because, you know, of that atmosphere. It's like fighting on pay-per-view. You know? It's like fighting on pay-per-view. So, you got Sean Porter who's saying that he's going to try to box, you know. I mean, I did ask him about that yesterday, and he kind of, you know, like was still, you know, he was on some shit like basically in his dad. I got to upload that Kenny Porter stuff if you ain't see it. I got some exclusive stuff. We're talking about, you know, well, if that type of fight breaks out, it breaks out. But we feel, I mean, obviously they feel that they're better than Andre Berto as a boxer. But, you know, the general public feels that Berto is the better, you know, boxer. But Sean Porter is the favorite to win the fight, because this is the type of fighter that Andre Berto has problems with. So here's the predictions I've been getting off of social media and everything, is that Berto's going to go down, you know, multiple times, and likely probably going to get stopped, and it's going to be the injured Andre Berto, because it's like there's other fights you can get for him out there, but how much maneuvering can you do to get him to another title shot like this, you know? They would have to go that WBA route again, you know, or try to go that WBA route, I guess. But then Keith Thurman now is the king of free TV as far as Premier Boxing Champions is concerned, and he's a unified champion, and likely are going to be going after that IBF title next. Before, you know, we don't know what's going on with that Pacquiao situation. We don't know, even though Thurman's been calling him out. But anyway, you know, I just thought I'd do this video. I might do a live stream later on tonight. You know, Berto weighed in at 146.5, 146.5. Sean Porter had to get butt naked. You know, they had to pull the towels out to weigh in at 147 pounds. We have a fight. Winner gets mandatory against Keith Thurman. Keith Thurman has about another 2 months left to announce a fight, or whoever the winner of this fight is going to be ordered to fight, you know, to a purse bid. You see what I'm saying? So the reason, you may say, well, they're all Al Haymon fighters. The reason why you want to avoid a purse bid, because you'll have somebody like Rock Nation come in like, oh yeah, well, we'll pay $10 million for that fight and put it on HBO pay-per-view. So when you do a purse bid, even though it may be your fighters and Al Haymon is not a promoter, you know, you can still, another promoter can still come in and take your fighters and have them fight on the card. So that's why you want to avoid purse bids. You know, that's why you want to avoid that shit. You know, because it's not, it's just bad in so many different ways. What was the last thing I was going to say? I forgot. All right, well, whatever. Teach your controversy. Teach your controversy live.